Okay, so this is where we left off. We made our character walk. She is moving her upper body up and down, and the knees are also working well. But before we move on to the upper body, let's first bend the foot like we mentioned, because when she's taking a step, her foot moves back. She needs to move her heel up. So we can easily do that using the puppet pin tool. Let's first turn off right foot, work with one foot at a time. Go to L foot, hit U so we can see the keyframes. Hold down Alt or Option and then use your mouse to just zoom in, and that's going to zoom in on the area that you put the cursor on. Let's make a few points, one at the tip of the foot, one at the bottom, one at the top, and that's it. Let's make a keyframe first for the original position. Move into the next one. And we're going to hit U on mesh so we get to see all the keyframes. We want these normal keyframes to come into this time. So right here. And then in the beginning, where she's supposed to bend her foot, we're going to simply get each one. Let's work with one at a time, click away, and just simply move her foot up. You can make another keyframe, another puppet pin tool here. And then we can move this up. If you saw that we're deforming her foot. So it's going to be like this, and then it's going to become normal and the next thing. So bent, and then it becomes normal there. So we bent it, and here it's normal. In the next keyframe, let's keep it normal again. So copy the second sets of keyframes, which was 3. Control C, Control V on this part. Next keyframe, here it's also the same. Paste the same sets of keyframe. Here it needs to bend again. So we can copy the first sets of keyframes. That's the position. Just unclick the position. We have one more puppet pin here. All right, we want to get all 4 of the first puppet pins. Control C, and then on the last one, Control V. So it's bending again. So it's bent, straight, bend. It's only bending in the beginning and the end, or at times when the foot is in the back. So it's going to be normal, and then here it's going to bend, and it will continue being that way. All right, so let's alt click on mesh and also add the same expression. Property, loop out cycle, click away, and now this bend thing will also happen after 2 seconds. Okay, let's close that and close L foot completely. Okay, let's bring back the right foot. So let's turn off left leg layers, bring right foot layers. Yep. And just click away. Hit U on right foot. First zoom in on the foot. All right. Get our puppet pin tool. Come in the beginning, make one point in the middle, in the tip of their foot, one at the heel, one at the top, and one somewhere here. Turn on the mesh keyframes, and we're just going to move into the next part, or to the part where she is bending her foot, so that would be here. That's the 3rd keyframe. Get the puppet pin tool, and we're just going to first stretch her foot up and then bring the heel with it. So we have something like that. We have to move it backwards like that. Move these in as well. So open mesh 1, and we have 2 keyframes right now. Open deform. All the puppet pin tools, hit U. And we're going to copy the first sets of keyframes on this second keyframe. So paste it here. Then on the third keyframe, it's going to bend. On the fourth, we want it to be normal. So paste the normal keyframes. And finally, we want it to be normal too. Okay, then we're going to hit Alt-click on Mesh, add that looping property that we did for all the other layers. Okay, so now her foot is going to bend here and it's going to be straight and it will just continue bending for the rest of the animation. Let's hit U and I'm not actually seeing that. Okay, so undo your looping mesh thing. We have to do that on the puppet pins actually. So Alt-click on each of the puppet pins and just do the loop out duration effect on each of these puppet pins, not on the mesh. That's not how it works. Alt-click, property, loop out duration, our last puppet pin. So now it should be bending. Yeah, so it's bending even after 2 seconds. Let's do the same thing for the other foot. Hit M, go to right foot, bring that in, hit U, and we have to do this again because I undid everything. So I'm gonna do this again and work with the layers one more time until I'm happy with it, and then I'll be back so we can continue with the rest of the lesson. Okay, so I went ahead and looped the puppet pin tool for the other foot, and to fix that long ankle problem, I just went back on my foot keyframes for position and just simply brought one of the position keyframes higher so we don't get that long ankle, and now it's looking more natural. Okay, we're completely finished with the bottom part. Now let's move on to the top part. So the body is already moving up and down. We want to work with the arms. So hit U on hip. And on hip, we're gonna keep the hands straight. So go on upper arm, hit rotation. We're just gonna make it straight like that. Turn on the keyframe, the stopwatch. Go down to hip, hit this for the next keyframe. If the hip is going upwards, I believe now it went up. Yeah, it went up right now. If it's going upward, we can make it straight. If it's going downward, we can make it bent like that. So I think 0 degrees was good. And then let's come down to lower arm and also hit R. And over here, we want to bend it. So it's like that. Turn on the stopwatch. On the next keyframe, just put it to 0. So it's straight. Come down to hip. Go to the next keyframe. So we're aligning. Now it came down again. We can copy these two. Control C for upper arm, Control V, and then Control C, Control V for the lower arm. Next keyframe. We can just loop it actually. So now if I hit N on this, the arm is just moving forward and then like that. But now we need to move it backward one more time and then we can loop it. So the fourth keyframe. Let's move it backwards so it goes that way. And then lower arm, it bends forward. And then in the next keyframe, we can just maybe, I believe it came down. Yeah, it came down. On the next keyframe, we will just put it to, I believe this was our straight line. Yeah. We can just copy the straight line and paste, paste the keyframes. So now we just have the arms moving forward, moving backward, and it's just doing that. Okay, I think we should actually switch the two keyframes. So this was our backward. Move it here and just delete this one. find the exact position for the third keyframe and set these two on it. So now it's going to be bent forward, straight, bent backward. I think that looks better. I think I want the backwards to be more intense. So go back, but make the hand like that. And then on the next keyframe, we can just, it goes up, so we can just copy the front. Need to do this one by one. Control C, Control C, Control V. So now the arm is just moving forward and moving back. The movement is really slight. Okay, front here, and then back here. Let's forget the straight arm completely. So it goes back. Let's bend the lower arm as well. Next keyframe, it goes back to front. Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. Next keyframe, we copy the second set. Control C, Control V. Let's have a look. It goes front and it goes back. That's better. And then the last keyframe around here, we want to copy the front one. So Control C, Control V. And now we have a front and back motion. We just have to loop this. So Alt click on rotation and add the same property that we added to all the other layers. Loop out duration. Good. So now we have a looping thing. And it's moving with the hip, so that's perfect. Makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and also animate the neck. Hit M on arm. Go on the neck. Sorry, the head, not the neck. The neck stays the same. Go on head. And you can still use the hip keyframes for this. So we're going to hit R on head. And maybe move it a bit forward. +7. Turn on the keyframe. Next goes to -7. Copy the first keyframe. Next one. Paste that. And then we have one final one, which is just 7, +7. So now our neck is also moving front and back as she is moving, which is a lot more. Helps the animation look more natural. We're gonna put that property on this as well. Okay. So head, arms, all of that is gone. Let's move the bag. Since the bag is connected to the, actually that's the body. The bag needs to connect to the back strap. So the back strap can be independent. The bag needs to connect to back strap. Did the opposite. Go in the beginning and again look at your hip, the hip keyframe. So if it moves, the arm moves back, this guy needs to move back too. So go on back strap on the second keyframe. Hit R on back strap, and if we move the back, we can move the back strap, we can move the back too. Turn on the stopwatch. So this is 10, and then here we can put it to -10. So it's normal, goes back. And we could just make it move forward in the next one. So hit that. Let's add to remove from the thing. Before we do that, let's actually bring the anchor point of the bag right in the center. Move the position right here. So it needs to rotate along this point. Okay, that's that. Now let's move on to the keyframes. So in the beginning, it's going backwards. So it's here. Negative, positive 16. Turn on the keyframe. Next one, negative 16. Let's have a look. Okay, we did the opposite, just switch the two. All right, so when she moves up, it goes back. Copy this, next keyframe, paste. Copy the second one, next keyframe, paste. Copy the first one, paste. So it should be moving back, front, back, front. Okay. Let's also hit Alt on this at the property loop out. Click away. So now the bag is also moving with the rest of the body. Have a look. All right, so it's moving like that. We could assume that she's holding her bag, so that's why it's moving with her arm. And we're done with the cycle with the body. You could also add puppet pin tools to the neck, the hair, and just make it like fluffy. I'm not going to do that since you already know how to do it. All right, now that we're done with the character, we can move on to the background, put her in the background and just maybe animate the background as well and create a scene. I'll see you guys in the next lesson.